Hello, darlings. The journey continues. Here we are again. Yet again, new day, new timeline. Sending you many blessings wherever you are. And today I want to get into the second part where we're talking about the spiritual realms, because the part of my pregnancy that was honestly the most challenging to wrap my head around was the spiritual aspect of it, because like I said before, I was getting these spiritual signs like months before I was pregnant that this was coming into my field. I have a deep background in the spiritual realms of spiritual attack, of, people trying to give me exorcisms, like, getting weird DMs in my Instagram, like all these strange encounters with other realms or the enemy, or however, you want to phrase it and look at it. And the pregnancy portal that I went through was no different. The depths and the visions and the imagery and the sensations that the spiritual realms were revealing to me, bringing to me, being experienced through me, is unlike anything I've ever experienced in my entire life. To the point where I think in the last episode I was talking about it, it was like a borderline spiritual psychosis. And so I want to unpack this a little bit more together, because again, it'll continue to give you context into me as a person, my background, how I experience life, which, to me feels very unique, but I also recognize that there are a ton of other people out there that experience similar. Some of those people end up being my clients, because they're like, whoa, girl, you can hold it. You can handle it. You've been there. And I'm like, absolutely. And so, and I laugh because I have to laugh. It's just, it feels better. It feels better to laugh about it. And it's just so cosmic. It's so beyond the realms of my own understanding for the most part. And yet somehow I'm able to be here and compartmentalize it and share it with you. So clearly I'm doing something right. And so this part of the spiritual realm. So I find out I'm pregnant and I'm tripping out. And I'm really caught between two realms, which then manifests into a third realm. The first realm is, am I going to have this baby? Do I want this baby? Right? All of a sudden, I have a short amount of time to make a life-altering decision. And so I'm tripping about that. Do I not want this baby? What does that mean? Who am I as a person if I choose that option? I'm caught in that. And so there's this tug of war happening in my mind, in my body, in my spirit, in my soul, around what do I want? What am I going to do? And I'm in a pressure cooker of a couple weeks. And I was already like 6 weeks pregnant at this point when I found out. So I'm in a pressure cooker. And so in that process of being in a pressure cooker, this is where spirit was really like, whoo. And when I say spirit, I'll say, I'm not saying spirit. Well, it's both. It's God, right? It's all encompassing. Spirit is so all encompassing. It's God as much as it is the enemy and the devil, Satan, whatever you want to call it, right? And so in this moment of being triggered, spun out, lost in the sauce, all of it, right? I was drowning. I was emotionally drowning. Mentally, I was losing it. I was just absolutely losing my mind and trying to compartmentalize my emotions to some degree so I could kind of like logically go, okay, well, if I want to have this baby, let's like kind of see what that could look like. What could that future look like? What does that mean? Do we have to go back to the UK? If we go back to the UK, though, I'm not near my family, and then I'm really isolated because I don't really know anybody in the UK, and it's winter, and do I want to have my baby there? Do we want to have our baby in Mexico? Like, that'll give us residency, but it felt kind of weird, like trying to have a baby for like, political gain and purposes. That didn't really feel very loving. So I'm thinking of all these scenarios, right? What is the best case scenario for all parties involved? And it was really, really stressing me out. And I had some friends, some new, acquaintances, allies in my life that were so gracious. People that didn't even know me, that had just met me for the first time, because I had just started psychedelic studies, a year-long program. And it's like day one, our study group is introducing ourselves to each other. And they're like, yeah, be honest. What are you bringing into this space? And when it was my turn, I just broke down. I was like, hi, I'm Tiffany, and I just found out I'm pregnant. And right when I say that, everybody's kind of like, their eyes are lighting up because they're anticipating excitement. And then the next words that come out of my mouth are, and I'm terrified, and then the whole is like, just silence. And the look on everybody's faces just started to shift, right? Because they're like, okay. And so that was my entry point into that. And God bless my study group. They were incredible people that really, whether they knew it or not, were deep anchors for this last year of my life up until I graduated in August. And gosh, I needed them, and I was so grateful for them. And so I have some allies who are, kind of helping me figure out my thoughts, helping me organize my experience about what's going on. I had a dear friend who was like, hey, if you don't want to have this baby, there are solutions for it. Here's the process. You can create a whole ceremony around it and really terminate your pregnancy with a sense of reverence and honor and beauty. And so I had that option. I had another friend from my study group reach out, this woman who really kind of filled the pseudo motherhood role for me in some capacity, because she was older than me. She talked about times in her life when she had to terminate her pregnancy and what that experience was like for her and how isolated it felt. She was even like, hey, I'm here for you. Do you mind if I pull some cards for you? I'm like, I'll take all this help I can get at this point, because I could not. I couldn't access a lot for myself. And every time I would try to find a solution or to organize myself, I would just get so overwhelmed that the overwhelm would just bring me to tears, and then I couldn't do anything. And so she was just really beautiful and really supportive. And one of the things both of these women were asking me is well, have you had the opportunity to sit and speak with your baby yet? And I hadn't. I really hadn't, because my emotions were just too overwhelming. And the fear that I had, these fears of, am I even capable of doing this? Am I going to be a good mother? Oh my God, what if I'm not a good mother? Oh my God, what if my ancestral trauma just keeps going because I'm just not prepared for this journey? I was thinking crazy thoughts. Those are pretty normal thoughts, I think, for women to have when they're pregnant. It's like, okay, how are we going to do this? Right? Let's start thinking solution oriented. And on top of that, I just had all these really negative thoughts, really evil, really if I could put an imagery to it, it was all these energies and these entities were just ripping me to shreds. Every part of my confidence, every part of my, well, maybe I can figure it out. I was like, nope. And it would just destroy me. It would just destroy me from the inside out. And, it was brutal. It was so brutal. And then on top of that, I'm hearing all these voices of God, of what's possible, of my own voice, of the enemy's voice. It was just it was just so noisy. I couldn't hear anything. And so there was a couple options that one of my friends offered, and she said, look, here's what you can do. And here's what I recommend, because she works with people in this space. And she said, why don't you take a couple days and really feel into and embody the choice of yes. your yes. Yes, I am choosing this. Yes, I'm going to do this. Really let it be in your body. Start to live and breathe as if that is so, and notice how that feels for you. And then do the same for if you say no. And live it and breathe it and embody it and notice how that feels for you. And see what happens in that space. Like, see what kind of answer evolves, what kind of truth evolves for you in that space. And so I tried that for a couple days. And it was tough because at the time I was really trying to bring my partner into this as well. But he was also really struggling. Like he was holding it together for me, but I could tell that this entire experience was also rinsing him. Like he was also spinning out. And even though he would just like be kind of like a stoic anchor, right? I was like, I need your emotions. I need to know where you're at, because this is a two-way conversation, you know? This is both of us. This is all three of us. And so I tried that. And at one point I sat and I was sitting much like I am right now, where I was leaning against the side of my bed and I had my hands on my womb and I was looking at my belly and I was just speaking to my belly and speaking to this tiny little seed of creation inside of me that I could already feel was feeding off me. And not in a negative way, but in the way that like a baby needs nourishment. Like all of my resources and all of my energy that was not getting spun out over the situation, this new life was needing. And immediately I started to feel so much guilt because I'm like, I am not nourishing you right now. I'm straight up poisoning your consciousness because I'm tripping out. And now that I've been in the psychedelic space and I've been in the trauma and recovery space, it's like, I know all of these things to be true. Like how a woman lives her life and her experience of life, and whether she's stressed or anxious or happy during pregnancy, all impact the nervous system that is being developed in this new little creature. Like it all impacts. And so immediately I'm like, we are off to a terrible start. This is not a good look. This is not a good vibe. And it's, ultimately what I was thinking was like, this is just not the energy that I want to be bringing into my pregnancy right away. I want to be excited. I want to feel lit up. I want to just be like so arms open, heart open, mind open to pregnancy and shifting into motherhood and working so hard to create the most stable, most nurturing environment that I believe any child on this earth deserves. And I knew that doing that was going to be a struggle. That's the story that I had in my mind anyway. I was like, oof, off to the races and we are stunted already. Like, no. A poor thing. And so I'm sitting there and I'm having this conversation with my baby, like in real time. I'm speaking to my baby and I'm saying, wow, I'm so sorry that I'm feeling this way and I don't want that for you. And everything that I just said, I'm speaking this to my baby and I'm saying, I haven't been able to reach you because I just can't get beyond my own thoughts and my own emotions. I feel like I'm plagued. And I want to have a relationship with you. I need to have a relationship with you because I need to know what your intention and your purpose are and in choosing me, right? And I just really wanted to be in dialogue with the essence of my baby. And I got this message so clear, like crystal clear. For as much noise as I had, it just like came through like a lightning bolt. And I felt it in my whole body, where my baby said to me, she said, look, regardless of what you choose, what I have come here to do to you, for you, has already been done. And so it's really up to you to decide at this point what you want, because my intention has already happened. And it wasn't until hindsight, much later, that I understood what that meant. And really, what I truly believe now, hindsight 2020, was that pregnancy, like I've said in the previous podcast episodes, was to reveal cracks in my foundation of confidence, security, safety. And I could say, oh yeah, all the ways that I feel this in myself, but it's so beyond that, because I had a level of confidence. I was feeling really good. I'm like, I have this amazing business. I'm doing things with sex prayers. We're creating beautiful community. I'm impacting people's lives. This is next level stuff. This is stuff that I dreamt about when I was a girl, and here I am like living that dream. And it revealed that on a very deep-seated level, I still did not trust in spirit. I did not have faith. I did not have this like deep, core, rooted, anchored connection to, no matter what I choose, I will be supported, I will be loved, and I will be okay. I crumbled under the pressure of that. Absolutely crumbled. And so in hindsight, it's easy for me to see how that pregnancy was there to reveal the cracks of my own foundation. And, I've had conversations with people about the Kindle experience and all of this. And, people have been like, well, maybe your pregnancy actually wasn't going to come to term. And maybe it was a warning that your pregnancy was going to be distorted in some way, or your baby wasn't going to be fully formed or developed in some way, right? There's all these like, well, what ifs that I could cast, which could have been true, right? And so my decision maybe ultimately was saving. Right? It's really hard. It's so hard to know. And again, it kind of puts me in this like, it's a slippery slope. It's a very slippery slope. And so in that moment when I'm hearing her say that to me, I felt relief and I felt peace. I felt peace because she knew I was terrified. She knew I was so scared. She knew my fears. She knew my hardships, what I was struggling and wrestling with. Like, she knew all of it. And yeah, I just felt ease when she said that to me. And still, it didn't create an answer for me. It wasn't still like, oh, okay, well, then I'm a definite yes. Or like, oh, okay, I'm a no. I was like, okay, well, I'm still confused as to what I want to do. But knowing that you have spoken to me and knowing that you have shared that with me, I don't know, just it created a tether that I didn't have before. And so I had a tether to her. I had a connection to her, and I could feel her, and I could hear her, and I could feel her in my womb from that day forward. And feeling her started to open me up to the idea of potentiality. And David at the time, there was a day where I was like, I don't know. I really don't know what to do here. And so he said, why don't we do like a little meditation? Because he does hypnotherapy. And so I laid down, and he kind of took me into this inner world of myself and asked me what I started to see. And I told him I'm seeing a door. And he's like, what do you see on the door? And there wasn't any labels, but I could describe what the door looked like. And he said, do you see anything else? And I said, yeah, behind the door, there's a color. And this color is blue. He's like, tell me more about that. And I'm like, as I approach the door, it starts to feel cold. And I immediately could feel my body tense up. And as I opened the door, what I'm seeing is just isolation. Everything feels cold. It feels isolated. I'm walking in the city and I'm just feeling alone, and there's like a sadness and an emptiness that I'm experiencing. And so he takes me out of that door. We continue the journey, and the next door reveals itself, and he asks if it says anything, and it doesn't, but I can describe the door, and it's different. And I'm telling him, yeah, but this door is different. It's warm. I feel warm approaching it. And there's like this yellow glow that's emanating from it. And when I open it, I tell him, I can't see anything, but it's the three of us. Like I can't see our faces. It's almost like I can see our bodies, but in a very blurry, kind of like it's almost a memory that's on its way to being forgotten. But there's the three of us, and I can hear her laughter, and I can feel her energy, and it's a warm sensation. And so as I'm coming out of it and I'm back in this empty space of the meditation, the space I'm very familiar with, I'm saying, well, one feels good, but there's still not a direct answer. And he's asking me, well, does it need to be one door or the other? Are there other doors? And as he says that, this other door appears. And it's the only door that I remember what it looked like. But as I approached it, it had this green energy. And the door was almost like it was like made from a slab of a tree trunk. Like I could reach out and touch it, and I could feel the bark. And there were all these divots and ridges in it. And it looked like somebody had just cut a tree in half and then made it into a door. And when I opened it, I couldn't see anything. I was just in this green space. And what I kept hearing in that space was, not yet. Not yet. And it was interesting because when I went in that space, right, like the blue door that was cold and frigid, I was like, oof, that doesn't feel good. Oh, I literally just got goosebumps right now. Oh my gosh, I just got goosebumps. It didn't feel good, right? I was like, oh man, because in my mind, I was thinking, okay, this is me not having the baby, and I've lost all my light, and I'm a sinner, and I'm going to feel isolated forever, and I'm going to live in resentment and regret, and it's going to feel barren. And I'm going to be sitting there in guilt, and I'm just never going to escape that decision. When I'm in the yellow, there's life, and there's laughter, and there's playfulness. And also, when I was there, despite it feeling warm, there was like an uncomfortability to it. The sensations in my body were just kind of like, kind of getting a little bit tight and a little uncomfortable. And I noticed that. And I'm like, wow, something that sounds playful is also creating this kind of like averse experience inside of me. But when I'm in this green space, it's just green. It's like I'm in a forest and just basked in green light. And I'm just hearing, not yet, not yet. What was coming through and how I was relating to that was like, maybe it doesn't have to be a no. Like a no just means I'm cut off and that's it. And that's my one opportunity and I'm never going to get another opportunity because God's going to punish me. But it's like, what if it's just not yet? And a softness came over me in that, where all of a sudden it didn't feel so black and white to make this decision, or it didn't feel like if I make one decision, I'm cut off from this potential vision or this potential other door forever. And maybe it will reveal itself to me again in the future. And I don't know the answer to that. And I'm open to that. And so this green door just really, I felt grounded in it. I felt more certain in it. And I felt the truth of that. And so I came out of the meditation just really reflective on that, noticing the different sensations that I was having in my body, noticing the stories that were coming up, noticing the false narratives that were also coming up that were really trying to cast me in a certain light. And were really trying to make me believe that there was one of two options and that was it. And coming out of that, I felt that that wasn't true. And other women that I know that I've had conversations with that have been on this path in a similar way, shape, or form know exactly what I'm talking about. And it's the ability to kind of open our minds to these other realities where maybe there isn't so much dogma or stigma around why we make the decisions that we do. And when we really truly tap into our inner intelligence, our inner knowing, and we really truly trust that, that more becomes available to us in that space. And so when I came out of it, I thought about it. I thought about it. And what kept revealing itself to me was that it didn't feel like the right time to have a child. It didn't feel like the right time for me. It didn't feel like the right time for my partner. It didn't feel like the right time for where we're at in our lives. And underneath all of that, while there was fear, of course, there was so much fear, what was even underneath that was such a deep desire, devotional desire, to shift my life so that it could be actual fertile ground for motherhood in the future. And I wanted that. I really found when I was thinking of that and that came through for me, I'm like, oh, I want that. I don't necessarily want to be nomadic, living out of 3 suitcases and then have a baby and have to figure out, where are we going? Are we traveling? Because our work will innately take us other places. But gosh, it'd be nice to have a home that is ours, right? It'd be nice to be in a neighborhood where we know we want to raise a child. It'd be, all of these amazing things that, to be honest with you, I just did not want to have to figure out, / probably did not have the capacity to figure out how to do that on the fly. I didn't believe in myself enough. Like, true story. I didn't believe in myself enough. And I didn't believe in us as a unit enough. And having those thoughts and coming to those realizations really cracked open a lot for me. It gave me so much food for thought about what I needed to do, what I needed and wanted my partner to do, how our lives needed to shift in order to create the most cohesive, most nurturing environment possible for bringing a being into the world. That's so important to me. That's so important to me that I chose to terminate my pregnancy because I value that more. I value that more. And that's an interesting thing to say out loud as I'm like processing that in real time. And it's funny, this other voice immediately starts to come in. It's like, oh, so you value wanting to create an environment to support and to more than support, sustain, nourish a being's life more than a being's life. And I guess in my current reality, that's true. And the biggest challenge was that this whole experience really put my values under a spotlight. Nothing was hidden in that space. Nothing was hidden from me. And sociopolitical norms were running rampant in my mind. Running rampant. And even if they're running rampant, oh, so you value this. Oh, what do you, what else are you putting on a pedestal? What else do you value over human life? It was like, to me, all that is just an attack of the enemy because there was an intuitive knowing of not yet. This isn't the right time. And now that I'm on the other side of that, while I still know that to be true, right? I still grieve my baby. I still grieve motherhood. Sometimes to the point where it literally drops me to my knees and I am just sobbing because the grief is so deep that I feel the loss, the fact that I chose that. There's a lot of guilt attached to that. There was a lot of shame over this last year attached to that, even though the entirety of this experience has brought me closer to God than ever before. Than anything ever before, y'all. I bought a Bible in January. I have been studying it. God and I are having really deep conversations. Like, he's shifting how I show up in my business, how I show up in my relationship, how I show up for myself. Like, when we talk about this baby saying to me, I've already done what needed to be done. That's what it meant, right? That is what she was saying to me, was that I'm about to course correct your life so hard. So hard. That was always my destiny. That was always my destiny, was I was going to course correct. I was going to highlight where things are not solid. I was going to highlight where you don't have faith, where you don't have trust. And ultimately, when you become aware of that, I'm going to bring you back. And that is what she has done. And I love her for that. I love her for that. It makes me emotional because I am so grateful. I'm so eternally grateful for her. And I know now that had I continued down the path of pregnancy, I'm a strong woman. Sure, I could have figured it out. But I'm really glad about the things that are being repaired in my life right now. I am on such, I'm building, right? I'm currently building, right? Like, my foundation was shattered. My foundation was absolutely shattered, and I had my practices and I had my tools, and even for a while those were just not working. I could not do anything. I mean, I was depressed, and I'm going to have an episode where I talk about that because I suffered postpartum depression from that. That lasted a long, 6 months, and now I see with such clarity, y'all, when I say clarity, I don't have to know anything and I feel clear. It's so wild. And she gave that to me. She gave me the opportunity to really look at myself and to really look at my life and to evaluate the parts of my life that I love and that I want to continue feeding and pouring myself into because they nourish me and they nourish people around me, and the parts of my life that were incongruent with what I wanted and with what I value. I value stability. I value nourishment. I value the time and attention and ability to properly take care of myself. And I wasn't doing that to my best ability. When I was pregnant, I was severely underweight because I was still recovering from burnout that took a long time. So I was still recovering from adrenal fatigue, proper adrenal fatigue. I was underweight. It's not conditions to bring life into this world. I'm like, baby, I'm already depleted and you're just going to take everything out of me. And I didn't trust that I could fix that in 9 months' time. And I deeply, deeply worried that my baby was going to suffer because of that. She didn't deserve that. She deserves a mother, a host, a vessel that is the Garden of Eden, And so I'm grateful. And there was a moment, and I'm going to talk about this when I talk a bit more about my postpartum, that was again another deeply spiritual experience where this was several months after I decided to terminate the pregnancy. And when I made the decision to terminate the pregnancy, I was trembling. I'm sitting there with this packet of pills in my hand, and I am borderline screaming out loud because I'm in such a pit of despair, and I'm in this spiritual realm, right? Like my partner's there, but like there's this whole vision, there's this whole other realm that I'm seeing and that I'm feeling, and it's hell. It's hell. It's hot. It's suffering. There's dead souls all around, and I'm seen as the death dealer. And I'm having to choose between life or death. And I'm having this moment where I'm like practically screaming while I'm crying. That's like, I never wanted this for myself. I don't want to have to make this decision. I don't want this decision. I was in hell. And I was the death dealer. And I was suffering. And I'm sitting there and I'm looking at these pills, and I know the second I take one of them, there's no turning back. Like, you can't just take one pill and then like just not kind of take the others. It's like, no, the first one kicks off the process, and you need the others to ensure that the process completes fully so that there's nothing left inside you to rot. Literally to rot. And in that moment, I was so overwhelmed. Even though I knew that the decision that I was making was the best for all of us, I hated it. I absolutely hated it. And I put the pill in my mouth and I swallowed it because I'm trying to stay somewhat rational about this whole thing. And the second I swallow it, I just lose it. I lose it, and I'm on a psychedelic trip for the next couple weeks, because even post termination, right, it's like this very graphic moment where I'm like, okay, what am I gonna do when it comes out of me? Like, do I want to bury it? Do I want to flush it down the toilet? That feels fucking terrible. It's like, even just to have that idea was like, I'm losing it again, right? I'm on the ground and I'm crying and I'm losing it because I'm like, what have I done? What have I done? Right? It's like this why God moment that I'm having with myself, where I am just the epitome of confused. Spiritual crisis again, over and over and over again. I'm just getting rinsed. And the whole termination experience was a trauma. It was just so intense. The convulsions and the shaking and the heat and the vomiting and the shitting and just like, oh, everything. It was just like, I was in a portal. I was in a portal, and I'm terrified. And then for weeks after, I'm still very much in that portal, because the wake of that experience, again, like, I haven't really tried to put that into words. And I'm realizing in this moment in real time, I'm like, oh, the depression, the sadness, the grief, the having to wear adult-sized diapers because I'm just bleeding for days and days and days. Inside out. It turned me inside out. I'm like, oof, I'm like shaking because it's like, oof, so visceral. I felt like a shell of a human being, and I felt like even more of a shell of a woman. And the enemy really came at me hard during that time. Look how pathetic you are. You deserve to feel this way. Look what you did. Feel good about it? Stuff like that was just poisoning my soul for weeks. Weeks. Ripping myself to pieces. And it was really hard for me because while the voice was so mean and so brutal, it wasn't untrue. Did I feel good about the decision? No. Did I regret that decision? Yeah, to some degree. Did I deserve to suffer? Yeah, I guess so. And in hindsight, yeah, I mean, I needed to feel all of that. I really needed to feel all of that in order to catalyze the shifts that needed to occur in my life. Truly. I say that truly, honestly, no filter. And part of me knows that this whole thing was already destined to be so. And there's a moment where several months after, I buy a Bible because I'm in this space of mysticism anyways, and studying mysticism throughout my life and all different ways of relating to spirit. I realized, because I had been watching church for almost like 3 years at that point online on Sundays, where I was like, look, this is how one person perceives God. And if I want to develop a relationship with God, I need to do that on my own, because I don't want to interpret his voice through somebody else. I want to interpret it through me. I need to feel it in my body, and I need to come into right relationship with this so I can understand it more fully. And ultimately, I was like, make an informed decision for myself. At the time, I was like, is it God or isn't it God? I don't really know, but I'm down to go on the journey to find out. And it was really supportive for me because I was in a Bible study at that time online, and it was helping me make sense of what was going on inside of me in a spiritual way. And now it's so clear why all of that happened. And I really am of the belief that despite how really hard the last year was of my life, to go through that and to sit in doubt. And again, it was like this moment, and I've been fragmented before, where I'm looking down at the ground and I'm just seeing myself in a million pieces, and I'm overwhelmed with what to do next. I have been there before. And when that happened to me the first time, God came through so clearly, because I said, look, I don't even know. I'm so broken. Like, I don't even know who I am anymore. And when God came through, he was like, but look, now you get to look at all of this and you get to put yourself back together the way that you want. You get to leave all these other bits behind and recreate the life that you really want. And that saved me in that moment. That gave me faith that I needed in that moment. It was like the answer that it was the thing that I needed to hear to get me going in a new direction at that time. And so when this happens again, and I'm fragmented, and I'm seeing myself in hell, and I'm burning alive, and all these other experiences that I'm going through, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically going through, again, he's there. But this time it's different. This time he's like, I'm going to show you specifically what I want you to see and what you need to repair your relationship to in order to be the woman that I know you truly are, and that somewhere deep down, you know that you can be. And it was like this energy of just him reaching his hand out to me to hold my hand. And I needed that. And I've always had this relationship with God, but it's always just kind of been in the background. And then when I would be in these do or die kind of situations, I would call upon him out of desperation and say, I will do anything. I just don't ever want to be here again. Whatever you tell me to do, I'll do it. And I did it last time, and I'm doing it currently, right? I'm living. My life is shifting. Physiologically, I'm shifting. I feel it every day. And I would not have gone on this journey to the same degree had my pregnancy not happened. It would have been impossible, because I wasn't building something stable. And for a while in my life, I was happy to just float around the room, right? And I do love that. I love that about being nomadic. I love that about being an entrepreneur. There's so much space and there's so much freedom to do what I want to do. It's brilliant. It's freaking Thursday and I went and met my friend at a park and we discussed business, in this beautiful park. And I just spent hours there in the sun. It's of course this is how I want to do business. Of course this is how I want to do life. And so there's elements of it that I love, right? But freedom without structure is just chaos. So I needed to grow up. I needed to grow through this experience. And I needed to have that spotlight on where I wasn't caring for or treating certain aspects of my life with the reverence and honor that they truly deserved, because I was just in a little bit of naivete out here. It's nothing's really relying on me. And so if push comes to shove, I can figure it out at the last minute. And it's a little bit stressful, but it's all good, right? And having pregnancy and having little baby lentil come into my field really exposed me to another possibility. And what I discovered through this whole process is that I actually want that. I would love to be a mother. What a blessing being a mother would be, right? And if God grants it, that it will be. And so I needed that experience in order to rearrange my life, my thoughts, my way of being and existing in the world. And for as deep as this whole story is and continues to be, which is honestly really in alignment with me, it's go deep or go home, I'm really not here for superficial, and God continues to reveal that to me in many different ways. And so that's part 2 of this spiritual realm element of my pregnancy. And the the spiritual realm will continue as it always has. It's expanding, it's evolving me, it's shaping me in a way where honestly I've never felt more held. I've never felt more seen or understood. I've never felt more powerful. It's amazing. And I'm a work in progress, right? I'm just going to keep repeating that, work in progress. I have not figured it out. I am figuring it out. And even recording this podcast is a part of that process. It's been beautifully cathartic for me to hear myself have this conversation out loud and be like, dang, wow, there is so much wisdom in here. Next level potency. So the spiritual realm will continue as it does. And I feel blessed by that. And I feel blessed every time God reveals something to me and puts it in my heart in a way where I then get to put it out into the world. Help others feel seen, nurtured, understood, heard. Because I know that I'm not the only one. And that is where I'm going to pause for this episode. As always, thanks for being here. Thanks for listening. Thanks for feeling me. I trust that there are parts of yourself that you feel in here also. And that this conversation will be thought-provoking for you into where these themes show up in your life as well. And if this message catches you at the perfect time, which I trust that it is, really supports you. Thank you.